As I indicated, I've got some questions on another matter, and Director Coates and Admiral Rogers, they're mostly going to be directed at you gentlemen, and thank you for your testimony this morning. And we all know now that in March, then Director Comey testified about the existence of an ongoing FBI investigation into links between the Trump campaign and the Russian government. And there are reports out in the press that the President separately appealed to you, Admiral Rogers, and to you, Director Coates, to downplay the Russia investigation. And now we've got additional reports, and we want to give you a chance to confirm or deny these, that the President separately addressed you, Director Coates, and asked you to, in effect, intervene with Director Comey, again, to downplay the FBI investigation. Admiral Rogers, you draw the short straw. I'm going to start with you. Before we get to the substance of whether this call or request was made, you've had a very distinguished career, close to 40 years. In your experience, would it be in any way typical for a president to ask questions or bring up an ongoing FBI investigation, particularly if that investigation concerns associates and individuals that might be associated with the president's campaign or his activities?
So today I am not going to talk about theoreticals. I am not going to discuss the specifics of any interaction or conversations I may or may not, if I could finish, sir, please, that I may or may not have had with the President of the United States, but I will make the following comment. In the 3+ years that I have been the director of the National Security Agency, to the best of my recollection, I have never been directed to do anything I believe to be illegal, immoral, unethical, or inappropriate. And to the best of my recollection, during that same period of service, I do not recall ever feeling pressured to do so.
But have, in your course prior to the incident that we're going to discuss, was it in any regular course where a president would ask you to comment or intervene in any ongoing FBI investigation? Not talking about this circumstance, but yes, sir, any prior experience with that?
I'm not going to talk about theoreticals today.
Well, let me ask you specifically. Did the president, the reports that are out there, ask you in any way, shape, or form to back off or downplay the Russia investigation?
I'm not going to discuss the specifics of conversations with the President of the United States, but I stand by the comment I just made to you, sir.
Do you feel that those conversations were classified? We know that there was an ongoing FBI investigation.
Yes, sir.
There are press reports.
Yes, sir.
I understand your answer. I'm disappointed with that answer, but I may indicate, and I told you I was going to bring this up.
Sure.
We have facts that there were other individuals that were aware of the call that was made to you, aware of the substance of that call, and that there was a memo prepared because of concerns about that call. Will you comment at all?
I stand by the comments that I have made to you today, sir.
So you will not confirm or deny the existence of a memo?
I stand by the comments I have made to you today, sir.
I think it will be essential, Mr. Chairman, that that other individual who's served our country as well with great distinction, who's no longer a member of the administration, has a chance to relay his version of those facts. Again, I understand your position, but I hope you'll also understand the enormous need for the American public to know. You've got the administration saying there's no there, we have these reports, and yet we can't get confirmation. I want to go to you, Director Coates. When you appeared before SASC, you said, and I quote, "If called before the investigative committee, I certainly will provide them with what I know and what I don't know." I have great respect for you. You served on this committee. I remember as well when we confirmed you, and I was proud to support your confirmation. You said that you would cooperate with this committee in any aspects that we request of the Russia investigation. We now have press reports, and you can lay them to rest if they're not true, but we have press reports of not once but twice that the President of the United States asked you to either downplay the Russia investigation or to directly intervene with Director Comey. Can you set the record straight about what happened or didn't happen?
Well, Senator, as I responded to a similar question during my confirmation and in a second hearing before the committee, I do not feel it's appropriate for me to, in a public session in which confidential conversations between the President and myself, I don't believe it's appropriate for me to address that in a public session.
Gentlemen, I understand.
I stated that before, and
I thought you also said at SASC, if brought before the investigative committee, you would, quote, certainly provide them with what I know and what I don't know. We are before that investigative committee.
Well, I stand by my previous statement that we are in a public session here, and I do not feel that it's appropriate for me to address confidential information. Most of the information I've shared with the President obviously is directed toward intelligence matters during our oval briefings every morning at the White House, or most mornings when both the President and I'm in town. But for intelligence-related matters or any other matters that have been discussed, it is my belief that it's inappropriate for me to share that with the public.
Gentlemen, I respect all of your service, and I understand and respect your commitment to the administration you're serving. We will have to bring forward that other individual about whether the existence of the memo that may document some of the facts that took place in the conversation between the President and Admiral Rogers. But I would only ask as we go forward, this will be my final comment, Mr. Chairman, that we also have to weigh in here the public's absolute need to know. They're wondering what's going on. They're wondering what type of activities. We see this pattern that, without confirmation or denial, appears that the President, not once, not twice, but we will hear from Director Comey tomorrow, this pattern where the President seems to want to interfere or downplay or halt the ongoing investigation, not only that the Justice Department is taking on, but this committee's taking on. And I hope as we move forward on this, you'll realize the importance that the American public deserves to get the answers to these questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, Senator, I would like to respond to that if I could. First of all, I told you and I committed to the committee that I would be available to testify before the committee. I don't think this is the appropriate venue to do this in, given that this is an open hearing and a lot of confidential information relative to intelligence or other matters. I just don't feel it's appropriate for me to do that in this situation. And then secondly, when I was asked yesterday to respond to a piece that I was told was going to be written and printed in the Washington Post this morning, my response to that was, in my time of service, which is in interacting with the President of the United States or anybody in his administration, I have never been pressured. I have never felt pressure to intervene or interfere in any way and shaping intelligence in a political way or in relationship to an ongoing investigation.
All I'd say, Director Coates, is there was a chance here to lay to rest some of these press reports. If the President is asking you to intervene or downplay, you may not have felt pressure, but if he is even asking, to me that is a very relevant piece of information. And again, at least in terms of the conversation with Admiral Rogers, I think we will get at least some, another individual's version, but at some point these facts have to come out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Risch.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Coates, Director Coates, and Admiral Rogers for your testimony. And with all due respect to my colleague from Virginia, I think you have cleared up substantially your direct testimony that you have never been pressured by anyone, including the President of the United States, to do something illegal, immoral, or anything else. Thank you for that. Let's go back to Section 702, which is what this hearing was supposed to be all about.